السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Inshallah, we continue tonight with Surah Al-Qasas from Ayaah 71. Alhamdulillah, all the praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator and the sustainer of all things. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be on His final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all of the prophets of Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open our minds and hearts to His book and to understand the Quran as He revealed it and as He meant it for us to understand it. In Ayah 71 of Surah 28, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم الليل سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة. Say, do you see if Allah made the night permanent until the day of judgment? من إله غير الله يأتيكم بضياء. Which God besides Allah, other than Allah, will bring you light? أفلا تسمعون. Don't you hear? And he asks another question. قل أرأيتم إن جعل الله عليكم النهار سرمدا إلى يوم القيامة. Say, if Allah, say, do you see if Allah made the day permanent until the day of resurrection? Which God other than Allah will bring you a night that you can rest in it? Don't you see? So these are two cosmic phenomena that we observe and we take for granted that there is always a night and there is always a day. And we know that day goes on for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours in the summer. But then eventually there is a night that we can rest. You notice that we can work during the day, but by the end of the day we are exhausted, we're tired. Right? So the day seems to be programmed, the length of the day, based on our ability to work and to function fully. And the night also is programmed that it is long enough for us to sleep in it. We need, a good night's sleep of 8 hours to be healthy. Unfortunately now, a lot of people stay up watching TV or doing other activities and do not go to sleep and don't get full sleep. And that impacts our health, impacts our mind and our functions. So a good night's sleep is essential for our good health. But during the day, we have enough time based on the energy that we have to go the whole day without needing to sleep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala programmed our cosmos, programmed the sun and the moon and the earth movement all in a way that benefits us. So He created the sun and the moon 4.5 billion years ago. He created the earth 4.5 billion years ago. And the earth has been going around itself, its axis, and moving around the sun in its orbit. So every 24 hours the earth rotates around itself, and every 365 days and a quarter it goes full circle around the sun, comes back to the same place. That has been going on for billions of years. And then Allah created us way after, but He designed us in a way that we can operate and function fully during the daylight, do business, go farming, travel, do whatever. And because we need to sleep, there is a night for us to sleep and to rest. He puts the lights out. If Allah didn't design the earth in this way and the sun in this way, our life would be nearly impossible. For example, if the night was permanent, as in Ayah 71, there won't be any plants, there won't be any vegetation. That part of the earth that doesn't have sunlight will be very, very cold, freezing, and will not grow any vegetation for us to use, to eat. Okay. And it would be nearly impossible for us to live there. The other side, in Ayah 72, if the day was permanent, okay, non-stop, also we wouldn't function, and the animals wouldn't function, and the plant life wouldn't function, because they also, even trees and plants and vegetation, needs a night time. Okay. So the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His infinite knowledge and wisdom, has created this system that fits us perfectly, makes it possible for life on earth to happen. When some people think about other planets, why there is no life like Earth? Because they don't have similar cycles like we do. And they don't have, some planets have very poisonous gas, carbon, in the atmosphere that does not allow life to be sustained. Some are too cold, some are too hot, some has little or no atmosphere, and some have very dense atmosphere. All of that affected by the position of that planet around the sun and by other factors, its rotation around itself and so on. So in this, the people who study astronomy and people who study physics and people who study agriculture and study everything, there are lessons in there for us that point to the careful creation by Allah, for His mercy, for His infinite ability. You know, we cannot slow down the earth, we cannot speed up the earth, we cannot do any of that. We are totally dependent on these functions, and we have no control over them. But they are required for our survival. And you see that parts of the earth, like the North Pole or the South Pole, where the day may go into 6 months, or the night may go to a 6 month, that life in those extreme areas is nearly impossible. You have to have special equipment and special gear and special supplies in order to survive in those areas. The South Pole, it's not habitable. The expeditions that go there barely can it's like going to outer space. In outer space, there are freezing cold areas, and these people in the South Pole, the same thing. See, small teams can go there for short periods of time, and they have to be supplied constantly in extreme weather. Same thing with the North Pole. So he says in Ayah 73, وَمِن رَحْمَتِهِ, it is from His mercy, جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ, that He gave you, made for you the night and the day. Always the night comes first. Okay? In Islamic calendar, now we began the new day, the new 24 hours. At sunset time is when our calendar begins. So you see in the Quran this consistency, al-layl wal-nahar, the night and the day. So when it is sunrise, we are in the middle of the 24 hours. When it's sunset, we are at the end of the 24 hours, and the beginning of the night is the beginning of a new day. So he said, it is from His mercy that He gave us, or made for us, the night and the day. For what purpose? The first one, the night, لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ, so you would rest in it. You would come to standing still, where you can sleep. When everything slows down and stops. Not just humans, but the animals, the birds, everything goes to their homes and places and sleeps. Of course, there are creatures of the night that are an exception, but it is part of His mercy that He made this for us. And for the second part, the daylight, He said, وَلِتَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ, so you would seek from His provisions, from His bounties. If it was always dark, for thousands of years there was no, lighting, no electricity. Even with lighting and electricity right now, it's very difficult to, move at night or do business at night. So it's the mercy of Allah that He gives us a break, and we are not in a daylight 24 hours, but we have time to sleep and rest, and we are not always in daylight where we're working non-stop, but we have time to take a break. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. We should be grateful to Allah. We should thank Allah for creating the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. وَيَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ فَيَقُولُ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِيَ الَّذِينَ كُنْتُمْ تَزْعُمُونَ. Ayah 74, he repeats this call. He says, on the day when He calls them and He asks them, where are my partners that you used to claim? Right now, where are Allah's partners who created the heavens or the earth or the sun or the moon or made the earth to move around itself? Where are these partners? Show them to us. There is no partner to Allah. So when you look at this cosmos and you see all of this intricate design that requires so much power and knowledge, you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one. There couldn't be two creators. There couldn't be two gods in this universe. If there was, you would have chaos in this universe. As He stated in Surah Al-Anbiya, لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. If there were other gods besides Allah in the heavens or the earth, then they will all be corrupted. They will all be in total chaos. On the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would demand from those who associated other partners with Him to bring forth those partners, but they won't be able to. Said, وَنَزَعْنَا مِن كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا, and we snatched out of every nation a witness. The scholar said that if from every nation Allah will bring their prophet as a witness against them. As he stated in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, he said, يَوْمَ يَجْمَعُ اللَّهُ الرُّسُلَ فَيَقُولُ مَاذَا أُجِبْتُمْ قَالُوا لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ عَلَّامُ الْغُيُوبِ. On the day when Allah will gather the messengers and will ask them, what have you been answered? What did your people answer you? How did they respond to your message? They say, we have no knowledge. You are the one who knows the unseen. Because many of these prophets, after they left, they don't know. They're humans. They died. They don't know how their people changed their religion. After Musa is gone, people don't know how the followers of Musa did. Musa doesn't know what his people did after him. Same with Isa. Isa did not tell them to worship him. After him, he doesn't know what they did. And Allah will ask him on the day of judgment, did you tell the people to take you and your mother as gods beside me, beside Allah? He will say, glory be to you. I didn't tell them that. I only told them to worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. And I was a witness when I was with them, but when you took me away, when you retrieved me, you were the witness over them. So I don't know what they did after me. So every nation, Allah sent them a prophet, a messenger, to teach them. And He will bring that messenger as a witness. He will bring the messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Muhammad, as a witness upon us. Okay? As he stated in Surah An-Nisa, فكيف إذا جئنا من كل أمة بشهيد وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيدا. How about when we bring from every ummah, from every nation, a witness, and we will bring you as a witness against those people, the people in his time, the Quraysh that were resisting the message. So when Allah brings these messengers, He will tell them, bring your proof. فَقُلْنَا هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ. Show your evidence that there were other deities with Allah, that you were worshipping these other gods, or you were not worshipping a god. Bring your evidence to what you were doing. فَعَلِمُوا أَنَّ الْحَقَّ لِلَّهِ. At that moment they realized and admitted, acknowledged that the truth is there's only Allah. There is no other God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. And all of these other gods that they worshipped, other religions that they followed, other ideas and philosophies that they invented are gone. They lost them. They have no proof for them. In Ayah 76, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about an interesting person, character in the time of Musa. Inna Qaruna kana min qawmi Musa. Qarun was from the people of Musa alayhi salam. So when we look at the history, we know that throughout history there were people who were powerful, people who were rulers, people who were rich. And Allah gives us these examples because these examples repeat themselves to us. Qarun was a poor person from Bani Israel, and he was, in fact, the cousin of Musa alayhi salam. And Qarun, when he realized that Musa is Kalimullah, he is talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he begged Musa to ask Allah, to pray to Allah to let him become rich. So Musa told him, his cousin told him, this is not going to be good for you. I don't advise you to become rich. Many of us wish, if I can be rich, look what I would do. If I only had, if Allah gave me money, I will show what I will do. You never know that. You don't know that. Look at all the rich people and what they're doing. How many times rich people start when they're poor in the masjid, praying to Allah, they are believers. Once they become rich, they disappear. And Qarun indeed was close to Musa. He was his cousin. So Qarun, the son of Yashar, the grandson of Qahith, and Musa was the son of Imran, the grandson of Qahith. So their grandfather is the same, and Yashar was the brother of Imran, and Qarun was the son of Yashar. Yashar is the uncle of Musa alayhi salam. So because he was family, because he was close to him, he insisted again and again and again until Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make Qarun rich. So Allah made him rich. So he says, كان من قوم موسى فبغى عليهم. He was from the people of Musa, but he transgressed on them. He said, وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة. We gave him of the treasures, gave him wealth, that the keys to the treasures need a large group of strong men to carry the keys. They used to make the keys from like iron or metal, and he had so much wealth, so much gold, so much silver, so much jewels, that he had to have storage facilities for them. He amassed so much of that gold and silver, and he needed a group of strong men to carry just the keys to the treasures. Imagine what the treasures contain. And that was real gold, real money. Not like today, it's just a digital number on your computer. They tell you, oh, you have, $1 billion, $100 billion, But it could be wiped out in a second. We see how many people, one day they are rich, the next day they could be completely wiped out. Their account deleted. So nobody could delete his account because it's actual treasures stored with guards and keys to these treasures. إذ قال له قومه لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. His people told him, do not be overly happy and arrogant, because Allah doesn't like those who are, overly happy and arrogant. In the Quran, we see there is a differentiation between being happy for something good you do and being happy for disobedience of Allah. So they are not the same. Because some people said, well, doesn't Allah want us to be happy? And the answer, true happiness is not what you think it is. So we have today a lot of people, their goal is to make a lot of money because they want to be happy. So in the Quran, the use of this word, al-farih, is different from al-farhan. He was prideful. He was, boastful about what he had. He was going out with his wealth, showing it off, and becoming arrogant. So his people told him, do not be prideful like that, okay? Because Allah doesn't like that. وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ. Instead, seek with what Allah has given you of wealth to be successful and triumphant in the life of the hereafter by giving zakat and sadaqat and helping people and doing good things and good projects with the wealth that you have been blessed with. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your portion of this dunya. You could use a portion of that wealth in this dunya to live a good life, to have a good home, to have a good ride, to have good clothes, to have good food, to have, wife, children, all of that is perfectly fine. So Islam is not against wealth. But when you have extreme wealth, excess wealth, how do you use it? That's the big question. So we're not against Elon Musk having, $850 billion, or Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates, or any of these people. That's fine. But what do they use that money for? Okay. We notice that most of these people don't really pay much in taxes. Okay. There is no tax on wealth. There's tax on people who work like us. If you work and you get paycheck, the IRS will get a cut from your paycheck. But if you are a billionaire, like these bozos, you find that they live off investments. They don't have to pay taxes on that. They don't have to liquidate all these, stocks that they own, the shares of their companies, okay? And they invest in so many other businesses, and that money is there. In fact, there are loopholes in the tax code that allow them to go and borrow money against what they own and live off of that borrowed money, okay, and avoid having to pay any taxes. The president was very proud that he didn't have to pay taxes. You and I pay more taxes than the president. Why? Because the system is designed for the rich people to take advantage of the middle class, the working class. So in Islam there is zakat on wealth, a tax on wealth. And if Elon Musk is going to pay zakat on his 850 billion, okay, say $800 billion, okay, then his zakat is at least what, 20 billion every year. That's a good amount of money that could make a difference for a lot of people. But those 20 billion are not collected from him. And that's just 2.5% of his wealth. It is not a lot. Okay? It's not a lot of money. He still, sometimes in one day, the stock market will go up, his company Tesla will go up, or SpaceX, and he will make $20 billion just in one day. Right? During the pandemic, when everybody's business was shut down and everybody was suffering, his companies were going, 100 to 200 to 300 billion dollars in just a short time. Obviously, he cannot make that kind of money from producing, things. He's making that money from people on Wall Street inflating and speculating on his business, the value of his businesses. So Islam gave and built in a system to prevent this hoarding of wealth and to redistribute a small portion, 2.5%, that can go to help the very poor people in society. The people who work for Musk in his companies pay more in taxes than he does. And that's unfortunate. The actual people who make the cars, make the business, the scientists who fly the rockets into space, all these people are paying in taxes while he hires some accountants and some lawyers and find loopholes in tax codes so he doesn't have to pay like the rest of us. So Qarun of our time, we have multiple Qaruns. We have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and many others. These people are the Qaruns of our time. Again, Islam is not against wealthy people. It's not against you making wealth. On the contrary, some of the Sahaba were wealthy. The Prophet ﷺ himself was wealthy, but he used all that wealth for the benefit of the people, the community. Abu Bakr was wealthy. Abdurrahman ibn Auf was wealthy. Again, those people used that wealth for the benefit of the people. He said, وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. Do good as Allah did good to you. وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And do not seek corruption in the land. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Indeed, Allah does not love those who cause corruption. Now, you notice how much corruption in the land we have today by these people. Interestingly enough, this week, the release of 3 million documents from the Epstein files show that these characters, these billionaires and millionaires, they're all, involved in some of the worst acts against children, against little girls. They commit crimes, yet they are not being arrested, they're not being put in jail. If an ordinary person today speak the truth or demonstrate in the street or doesn't have, citizenship, he could be arrested and beaten Like this gentleman in Minnesota who was a citizen, who was trying to help a couple women who fell on the ground, and he reached to help them. He was beaten and then was shot to death. The other lady before him was also shot to death. Right? What crime did they commit? What did they do to deserve to be killed by their own government? While the people who, the files, the Epstein files have shown that they participated, they have done real crimes of human trafficking, of child abuse, of pedophilia, and all of them are still walking around and being treated like they are kings of the world, untouchable, including our president. So this sends a message: if you become, rich and powerful, and you could commit all the crimes you want, break all the laws, and you can become president, you can become in charge of a big company. But if you are a good person and you don't follow their ways, you can be crushed. And that's the tendency of those very rich. That's why Allah said, do not seek corruption in the land, because Allah does not like corruption. The world is suffering because of the choices that these wealthy individuals are doing. Elon Musk went into so many companies a year ago, and he kicked out tens of thousands of people from their jobs in the name of, controlling spending, in the name of efficiency, government efficiency. He ruined tens of thousands of families, careers, federal workers who have worked hard to serve the public, public servants have been kicked out. Nobody elected him, but he was brought by another corrupt person and said, go, do what you want. They went into companies, they accessed information they were not supposed to on all of us, and they fired tens of thousands of people who have been working hard for many, many years. Money is not everything. Part of the role of the government is to provide jobs and employment for these people. They didn't say, okay, we are going to move you from this job and give you a different job. No, just go home. And then how is that person going to support his family? How is he going to take care of his, when he lost his job, lost his insurance, lost his benefits, and many of them were near retirement, have served for, many, many years. If he is concerned about the deficit, okay, you have 850 billion, why don't you give 500 billion to the country that made you rich? Because he is an immigrant, he came from South Africa, he's not born in the US. He made his wealth in the US, fine. Okay, keep 350 billion, that's more than enough for a country to live. Okay, and give the country that gave you this 500 billion, reduce the deficit by, $500 billion. Same with the others. But you think all the people that he fired, all the savings from the people he fired won't amount to the $500 billion that he could give and solve the problem. But he destroyed many, many families. And when these people lost their jobs, they lose their ability to pay their mortgages, they lose their ability to. It affects the whole economy, it affects all of us. So that is called al-fasadu fil ard, causing chaos and corruption in the land. And Allah doesn't like that. Always you have to think about, okay, if I'm going to let this person go, what opportunities do they have elsewhere to support themselves and their family and not end up homeless on the street and not lose their home, their mortgage? Okay. That is the responsibility of the government. So we would, inshallah, stop here and continue. We have one class left for next week, inshallah, before Ramadan comes in. So let me stop here and open the floor for questions or comments or discussion. I see, alhamdulillah, no hands up. So, Jazakumullah khair for your patience and your attendance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in knowledge, understanding. May Allah grant you wealth and grant you the wisdom to use it for His sake in the right way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to the straight path. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us on the day of judgment among those who have done very well. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.